Okay, so on this question, we're taking the limit as y goes to 7 of this function right here. And so a good thing to try at first is just try plugging it in. It's not going to work this time, but it's just a good way to start. So if I just plug in a 7 here and plug in a 7 there, you can see that bottom is going to become 0. The top is actually also 0. If you type into your calculator 7 to the third power minus 343, that's 0. So we get 0 over 0. Now, what does 0 over 0 mean? 0 over 0 is what we call indeterminate or unclear. I'll just say it's unclear. We don't know. Why? Because if 0 is in the top of a fraction, I don't know if you remember, 0 in the top of a fraction, in fact, let me just write it over here. If you have 0 just in the top, that's just 0, right? Like if you said, I've got, how many times does 3 go into 0? No times at all. Remember, a fraction is just dividing, isn't it? So like 10 over 2 is 5 because 2 goes into 10. Bottom goes into top. That's what a fraction means. How many times a bottom go into the top? So, 3 goes into 0, 0 times. What if you have like the 0 on the bottom? Well, that's D and E does not exist. Or actually, I like to say that it's infinity. Sometimes we say it doesn't exist because 0 goes into 3 how many times? It goes in forever. So no, the answer is not 0, it's infinity. So my point is if 0 is in the top, the answer is just 0. If 0 is in the bottom, it's infinity, right? Because 0 goes into 3 infinite times, but 3 goes into 0, not at all. Okay, well then what do we do with 0 over 0? It's unclear. Why is it unclear? Because there's two possibilities. 0 on the top is supposed to be 0, but 0 on the bottom is supposed to be infinity. So which one is it? It's unclear. We're not sure. So 0 over 0 is one of those forms where we're just are not sure. The answer is not infinity. It's not 0. We're not sure what it is. We have to do something else. I'll put a question mark. It's undecided. So when you plug in the 7 there and you get 0 over 0, you just go, I'm not sure. I got to do something else. Well, what else are you going to do? Well, let's go back. This is a fraction right here. We can simplify this fraction. You know how to simplify fraction. I just showed it over here, right? What is 10 over 2? Well, 2 goes into you go 2 into 10 5 times, right? Remainder 0. The answer is 5. A fraction means bottom into top, doesn't it? And then it reduces. That's how you reduce a fraction. You'd let the bottom go into the top. Well, let's just do the same thing here. Let's just go y minus 7, the bottom, into the top, y cubed. Now, I'm going to fill in the missing, there's no y squared, there's no y, and then there's the 343, you see. So you just do long division, just like you would do with a normal fraction, bottom into top, 2 into 5. Sorry, 2 into 10, 5 times, remainder 0. Okay. So now we got to do this with polynomials, bottom into top. This is a little more difficult. I don't know if you've seen this before. Let's go through it. How do we do it? Well, let me just put a little division problem over here and remind you. When you do long division, say I'm going to go like I don't know, 23 into 4, 6, 8, 9, 7, 4, 6, whatever. So how would you start that problem out? What would you do? You would first go here and here and go, okay, let's go 2 times, right? Because 2 times 2, right? So same thing. So where'd you go front and front? So same thing here. Front and front. What am I going to put up here? Y squared, because y squared times y is gonna work. Y squared times y is gonna be y cubed, and then y squared times minus 7 is minus 7y squared. You see that? That's exactly what we would do with the 2. We'd multiply both those and get 46, right? Just think about normal long division. Same thing here. And now what do you do? Well, now you got to subtract 0 remainder and then bring down the other stuff. Well, we got to do the same thing here. We got to subtract. Now, to subtract polynomials, though, the easiest thing to do would be to change the signs because subtracting is effectively changing the signs. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go change the sign. So make that a negative and then make that a positive because you're subtracting all of it. You're subtracting the y cubed and the minus 7y squared. So when you subtract a minus 7y squared, so what I really did there is I subtracted y cubed minus 7y squared. That distributes and you get minus y cubed. Oops, I get scribbly there. Plus 7y squared. You see? That's why this became plus 7y squared. Okay, so now add them up. These cancel to be 0 because, y cubed and minus y cubed is 0. 0y squared now plus 7y squared is plus 7y squared. Just bring down the other stuff. 0y minus 343. Okay, get rid of that 0 in the front. We don't need it. Okay, next step. Got to do another step here. This is going to be a long one, you can tell. So next, I'm going to bring it up here. So next step is we've got to, let me get rid of this. We got to come up here and say, okay, where do we look? What would you do for the next step of normal long division? Well, you would just go back to our example here. You'd get rid of that 0 and you just bring down the 897. And then what would you do? You would say front to front. So it's going to be 4 because 4 times 2 makes 8. Same thing here. Front and front. What times y makes 7y squared? Well, 7y, huh? And it multiplies both those. 7y times y makes 7y squared. 7y times minus 7 makes minus 49y. Use your calculator if you're rusty on some of those times tables things. Okay, and now we're going to draw our line. I got to subtract, but remember, subtraction means change all the signs. Make that negative, make that positive. So that's 0, it's cancel. 0y, and now plus 49y is plus 49y. Bring down the 343. All right, last step. What are we going to do? We do front to get rid of that 0. We don't care about the 0. To front. What times y will make 49y? Well, plus 49. Boom, boom. That'll make 49y. And if you multiply on your calculator, you'll get 343. Beautiful, done. 0 remainder. So that means this is the answer to the long division. Now, that's not the whole problem yet. It's not the whole problem yet. Let me just finish the problem right up here for us. So now that means we divided this fraction. The limit's still in the front. That's the part we can't forget. The limit as y goes to 7 is still in the front, but this fraction has now become what? It's become y squared plus 7y plus 49, right? We just divided, just like, 10 over 2 is 5. We just divided the bottom into the top, and we got this answer. The limit's still in the front. Now you can plug in the 7. All that allows us to just now plug in the 7. Just put a 7 there and a 7 there. Hit the buttons. You're going to get 7 squared plus 7. I'm running out of room here. Let me get rid of some of this stuff so we can see what we got going on. 7 times 7 plus 49 equals 147. And that's how you do it. Now, let me show you a trick to save a little bit of time. This long division we just did was long and painful, right? There's a shortcut division called synthetic division. Let me show you. It's synthetic, like it's fake, like synthetic fabric is it's not natural. It's synthesized in a lab. So synthetic division, let me show you. You'll like it. It's quicker. So what was the problem? Y cubed minus 343 over y minus 7. Okay. Synthetic division would be quicker. It's fake division. It's made in a lab. So what you do is you just put a box like this. You take the number that's out here and you put the opposite of it. Opposite. So if it was a positive 7, I'd put negative 7. It was a negative 7, I put positive. And then you take the coefficients here. Remember these coefficients right here? There's really a 1y cubed, a 0y squared, a 0y, and a minus 343. Put those numbers right here. 1, 0, 0, minus 343. Those are the coefficients in front of y squared, y cubed, y squared, y, and no y. So put those right there. It's like you're doing the long division without writing in all the letters. Okay. And now, what do? You bring down this 1, and then you multiply 7 times 1 and you put it right there, 7, and you add these up, 0 and 7 and 7, then you multiply. 7 times 7 is 49, you add these up, 49. You multiply 7 times 49, 343, add these up, 0, that's your remainder. And so your answer is right here. And so it's going to be 1, and you put the y squared in front, put the y in front, and 49. You see that? Now you might say, well, how do you know it starts at y squared? It's always going to come down one level. It was y cubed to begin with. You're dividing by y to the first power, so it's going to start with y squared. So there's the same answer we got to this long division, just a lot quicker, a lot shorter. And then you just finish it up. Again, don't forget, you got the limit as y goes to, what was it, 7? Yeah, 7. In the front, so you still got to, plug in a 7, plug in a 7, and you'll get 7 squared plus 7 times 7 plus 49. You'll get your, was it 343? What was it? I don't remember. 147. I'm making 7. 147. That was the other number. Anyway, 147. Does that make sense? That's synthetic division. Much easier. Here, let's do that in the next one. Here's one more. Here's another one, hard one. If you plug in the 8, you always try, you can start by just plugging in 8. It's always a good place to start. But if you do, I'll just save you some time. You're going to get 0 over 0, which again, that's unclear. We don't know what that means. That could be infinity, 0, number. We don't know. So instead, I'm going to do synthetic division, which means I'm going to come on down and I'm going to go, all right, I'm going to box it up and I'm going to take whatever numbers here. I'm going to put the opposite right there of it. Now I'm going to take the coefficients, the numbers in front of the top. So we got, this is really a 1. This is first negative 13 x squared, and then a plus 43 and a minus 24. This one's nice. Don't have to fill in any missing zeros on this one. Okay. And then here we go. You bring this guy down, and then 8 times 1 is 8. You add them up. It's at negative 5. And 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. You add them up. That's 3. 8 times 3 is 24. Add them 0. That's perfect. You want a 0 remainder. That means it went in perfectly. And so our answer, well, we're not quite to the answer yet, but our answer to the division is 1. I mean, y or x? X. We're x. Huh? 1. And it's going to be x squared. How do I know we start with x squared? Well, because, again, the problem started x cubed, right? Right up here in the beginning, the problem started x cubed, and we're dividing by x. It's going to lower it to x squared. Bring this one down, minus 5. It just goes down 1 power every time, plus 5. So there's the results of the division using synthetic division. Now, don't forget the limits in the front, so put that limit back in the front. Limit as x goes to 8. We just reduced the fraction. We just divided the fraction with synthetic division. And now just plug in the 8. Boom, boom. So you get 8 squared minus 5 times 8 plus 3. Hit the buttons on your calculator or do it by hand, whatever. This is 43. It'd be what, 24, 27? I think that's the answer, right? 27? Yeah, yeah, right there. 27. And there we go. So that's how we do it. Again, we start by trying to plug in the 8, and it's just 0 over 0, which is unclear. So we have to divide the fraction. Synthetic division is the easy way to divide the fraction. And then we again plug in the 8. This time it works. Why? Because we got rid of the denominator. You see, when we divided the fraction, we got rid of the denominator. So it wouldn't be 0 over 0 anymore. And so we could just get an answer. And so there we go.